Hello, my name is Peter and this is a video manual for my Dye ultralight frame that I modified to use with a classic Automag. This was originally I think it was a PM6 ultralight frame. I'm not sure exactly, but it had this kind of rounded part on the back. What I decided to do, rather than mill all that off, is I decided to make it into basically a frame with wings. So this will not work with a rail that has a flat bottom like an RT rail or a TAC1 rail. It's really designed to be used for, the old classic Automag Minimag rail, because the wings kind of fit around that and it works really well. Okay. The frame was originally silver when I got it, and it was actually bent slightly. I don't know what happened to it. So I milled a little bit off the front and I straightened the frame in a vise. You can still kind of see, this is hard to see, but you can see right here it's still a little bit bent. Right there it's still a little bit bent. But I mean, once everything is installed on your frame, it's really hard to tell that anything was bent in the first place, and it's very structurally sound. None of the aluminum is broken. It was just, bent out of shape a little bit, and I wasn't able to get back perfect, but it's pretty darn good. Okay, you can see a little bit there. Anyway, once I got the frame all set up and milled and customized, I sent it off to be Cerakoted or Cerakoted, however you pronounce that. So it's kind of like a flat black finish. It's not glossy black. It's definitely not as shiny as a gloss back piece, but it matches, the rail, the stock black Automag rail pretty well. So I think it looks really nice. This has a custom-made safety that has the same kind of spring-loaded mechanism that most safeties use. If you ever want to remove the safety, all you have to do is there's a screw down here. I think it's a 440 screw down this little tiny hole. It's kind of hard to see, but if you just unscrew that hole, there's a screw, there is a spring, and then there is this long rod that pushes up against the safety and provides tension and a nice snappiness to let it move back and forth. Okay. Installing this is going to be fairly straightforward. All you have to do is, take your sear, and you're going to have to remove the arm off of your sear. Usually they're glued in place or they're Loctited in place, so you're going to have to use a pair of clamping pliers, really get on that, and then maybe put the other end in a vise and turn it and that sort of thing. This one I've done a couple of times already, so I can just hand screw it out. But you're going to have to remove that, and then I'm going to give you a shortened rod, a shortened trigger arm. This is a steel, trigger arm. It's actually the original AGD spec. All I did is I cut it down a little bit, and then I added a nylon sleeve to just kind of keep it more centered inside the frame so it doesn't wobble around. And all you're going to do is you're going to screw this on and just screw it in as far as it will go. You're not going to even need Loctite or anything because it's not going to go any further, and that should be the right length. Once you have that set up, then it's just like installing any other Automag frame. All right, let's put this in here. You are going to want to, this is going to be a little bit hard to see here, but the trigger rod is going to have to go kind of right through there. There is a spacer on the bottom, and there is the back of the trigger on the top, and so it has to go through that little hole. So it's a little bit tricky. That's why I recommend taking off the grips when you put everything together. But once it's in there, it should be good. And then, we gotta put in the, there we go. The trigger geometry is such that once it's aired up, it's actually going to fire, in the first, I don't know, ½ centimeter or so, it's going to fire, and then there's a whole lot of after travel after that, and that's just so that the sear can move far enough to disengage the on-off pin when you're actually, trying to disassemble the marker. Okay. I would recommend using an RT on-off in your frame or in your valve, but this can work with a classic valve or an RT valve or a ULT or whatever else. You might have to play around a little bit with the trigger geometry to get it just where you want it to be, but otherwise it should be fairly straightforward. The screws, you are going to have to use, I've included custom screws. These are a little bit different length, and they actually fit into the little slots. Okay, you can't use like the regular AGD screw because it's not going to, it kind of slides into a recess there. Okay, so the silver one goes in the front, and then this really long one is going to go in the back where the valve is. Lastly, this does have a rail on the bottom, a dovetail rail. It does have the 2 holes that if you want to use, a regular 2-hole mounted ASA, you can do that. Or if you want to use the dovetail rail, you can do that instead. There is a set screw inside of here. The set screw is adjusted with a, I think it's a, this isn't the right size. I don't know where mine went. But you need to use, I think it's a 332 Allen key to get down in there and to make adjustments to the set screw. Okay. All right, I think that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to message me, and I hope you enjoy the trigger frame.